Hi there, it's Matt here, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to explore a topic that affects every single one of us, yet rarely gets discussed in economic terms: sleep. That's right, those precious hours you spend with your eyes closed actually have an enormous economic impact, not just on your personal productivity, but on our healthcare systems, businesses, and national economies. Now, I know what you're thinking. Matt, isn't sleep just a biological necessity? How does economics enter the picture? Well, in our productivity-obsessed world, sleep has become a commodity, one that's increasingly sacrificed in the pursuit of more waking hours. But as it turns out, this is a tremendously poor investment strategy. Think of sleep as the ultimate high-yield asset in your personal portfolio, one that pays dividends in cognitive function, physical health, and yes, even cold, hard cash. The numbers tell a striking story. When we look at large-scale economic analyses, insufficient sleep costs the United States economy up to $411 billion annually. That's roughly 2.28% of the entire GDP. To put that in perspective, that's more than the entire economic output of countries like Ireland or Finland simply evaporating into thin air because we're not sleeping enough. And the US isn't alone. Japan loses approximately $138 billion, 2.92% of its GDP. Germany about $60 billion, 1.56% of GDP. The UK around $50 billion, 1.86% of GDP, and Canada about $21.4 billion, 1.35% of GDP. These aren't just abstract figures on a spreadsheet. They represent real impacts on real people: lost productivity, increased healthcare costs, workplace accidents, and even fatalities. Let's dive deeper into how insufficient sleep ripples through our economic systems and what this means for you personally. Let's start with the most direct economic impact: workplace productivity. A large-scale study found that employees who sleep less than 6 hours per night lose approximately 6 working days of productivity annually compared to those sleeping 7 to 9 hours. This isn't just about feeling groggy. It translates to measurable declines in attention, decision-making, and innovation. Consider this striking finding. Workers who report poor sleep quality are 1.5 times more likely to be absent from work and nearly twice as likely to have productivity issues compared to good sleepers. Gallup's workplace analysis found that approximately 7% of US workers are chronically poor sleepers, and this group reports more than double the rate of unplanned absenteeism due to health issues, resulting in approximately $44.6 billion in lost productivity annually. A partner of today's podcast is the wonderful Branch Basics. Branch Basics are a small company with a big mission, founded by 3 women who went through serious health challenges and realized that one of the most powerful revolutions they could make was removing toxins from their everyday environment. That journey led them to create safer, human-friendly cleaning products, not to start a business, but to start healing. That story of Branch Basics is what made me so excited to bring them on as a partner. Supporting small businesses with a real purpose that are making a positive impact on the world is something I care about. And the product? I use their Branch Basics Concentrate, which is a fragrance-free, plant and mineral-based, and somehow strong enough to cut grease in the kitchen, but gentle enough for baby toys and fresh produce. It's simple, it's safe, and it works, and it's not going to harm me. #love them. So please support them and check them out at branchbasics.com/Matt Walker and use code Matt Walker for 15% off. Again, that's branchbasics.com/Matt Walker, code Matt Walker. Poor sleep is rather like running your laptop on low battery mode. Sure, it functions, but with reduced processing power, dimmed output, and the constant risk of shutting down unexpectedly. And just as you wouldn't expect optimal performance from a device running at 20% power, we shouldn't expect our sleep-deprived brains to deliver their best work. The cognitive impairment from sleep loss is particularly alarming. After just 17 to 19 hours of continued wakefulness, your cognitive and motor performance drops to a level equivalent to having a blood alcohol concentration of 0.05%, legally impaired in many jurisdictions. Extend that to 24 hours without sleep, and performance deteriorates to the equivalent of a blood alcohol level of 0.10%, legally drunk in most places. Now imagine making high-stakes business decisions or performing critical tasks in this state. A sleep-deprived workforce isn't just less productive, it's potentially dangerous. Studies of medical residents working extended shifts showed a 36% increase in serious medical errors compared to those working shorter shifts. These aren't just statistics. They represent real patient harm that could have been prevented with adequate sleep policies. The healthcare costs of insufficient sleep are equally staggering. One comprehensive analysis estimated that sleep disorders and sleep deficiency cost the U.S. healthcare system approximately $94.9 billion annually. This includes direct costs for treating sleep disorders and the downstream effects of poor sleep on conditions like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and depression. Here's a sobering statistic. Individuals with insomnia incur healthcare costs between 75 to 100% higher than those without sleep problems. They visit doctors more frequently, require more prescriptions, and are hospitalized more often. It's like running a car without regular oil changes. Eventually, the entire engine breaks down, requiring expensive repairs that could have been avoided with proper maintenance. The relationship between sleep and chronic disease is particularly concerning from an economic perspective. People who regularly sleep less than 6 hours have a 15% higher mortality risk than those sleeping 7 to 8 hours. They also face a 48% increased risk of developing or dying from coronary heart disease and a 15% greater risk of stroke. Even modest sleep disruption can have measurable health effects. In a modest-sized study, the Monday after we spring forward for daylight saving time, when we lose just 1 hour of sleep, heart attacks increase by 24%. Conversely, when we fall back and gain an hour, heart attacks decrease by 21%. This natural experiment dramatically illustrates how sensitive our physiology is to even small changes in sleep duration. Education represents another sector where sleep has profound economic implications. A study tracking college students over 2 years found that for every hour of sleep lost on average per night, students saw their GPA drop by 0.07 points. That means a student sleeping just 6 hours instead of 8 might see their GPA fall by 0.14 points, enough to drop from a B+ to a B, potentially affecting scholarship eligibility, graduate school admissions, and ultimately future earning potential. The economics of school start times provide a fascinating case study. Rand Corporation analysis found that simply shifting U.S. high school start times to 8:30 a.m. or later would add an estimated $83 billion to the U.S. economy over a decade through improved academic performance and reduced car crashes involving sleep-deprived teens. Over 15 years, this policy change could contribute approximately $140 billion to the economy. Think of early school start times as trying to teach students with partially functioning brains. It's like trying to fill a library with books in the dark. You might get some volumes on the shelves, but many will be misplaced or fall to the floor because the librarian, the brain, can't see clearly to catalog them properly. Turn on the lights, allow students adequate sleep, and suddenly information finds its proper place in memory. Public safety represents another area where sleep deprivation exacts a heavy economic toll. Drowsy driving causes approximately 6,400 fatal crashes annually in the United States, with economic costs estimated at $109 billion. That doesn't include non-fatal accidents, which add billions more to the total. A drowsy driver is essentially a drunk driver. Reaction time, judgment, coordination, all are similarly impaired. The difference is that there's no breathalyzer for fatigue, making it an invisible but deadly risk on our roadways. Some estimates suggest that drowsy driving is involved in up to 21% of all fatal crashes, making it one of the most underappreciated public health crises of our time. Workplace accidents related to fatigue carry similar costs. The Exxon Valdez oil spill, the nuclear accidents at 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl, and numerous industrial disasters have all been linked to human error caused by fatigue. These catastrophic events cost billions in cleanup, compensation, and lost productivity, not to mention the incalculable environmental and human costs. In medicine, sleep-deprived doctors and nurses make more errors. A landmark Harvard study found that medical interns working extended shifts of 24-plus hours made 36% more serious medical errors and 5.6 times as many diagnostic errors compared to when they worked shorter shifts. These errors don't just harm patients, they drive up healthcare costs through longer hospital stays, additional treatments, and malpractice litigation. The global picture is equally concerning. A recent study from Tsinghua University and Harvard examined the economic burden of short sleep in China, finding that insufficient sleep cost the Chinese economy approximately $628 billion in 2018, about 4.6% of the country's GDP. This represents a dramatic increase from the $191 billion estimated cost in 2010, reflecting both China's economic growth and its deteriorating sleep patterns. Sleep loss across nations is like a silent productivity plague. Unlike market crashes or financial crises that make headlines, sleep deprivation quietly erodes economic output day by day. It's a slow leak in our economic tire that costs us miles of efficient travel before we even notice the flat. A long-standing partner of today's podcast is Element, spelled L-M-N-T. Element is a sugar-free electrolyte drink mix, and for me, it was the sugar-free part that made me start using it a while back. And again, I buy my own supply just to stay objective. Beyond having the electrolytes in the right balance, the other reason I'm a fan of Element is that it's scientific. If you look up the people who created the company, you'll find some pretty heavy-hitting physiology, biochemistry, and pharmacology knowledge baked into the product. And again, all of that comes without any sugar. Now, here's the update. Element's lemonade salt flavor, which used to be seasonal, was so popular that it's now permanent. You can get it year-round. Happily, I badgered them, and they have agreed to give you fine folks a free 8-count sample pack with any purchase of Element if you use the link drinklmnt.com/Matt Walker. So for free product with your purchase, just visit drinklmnt.com/Matt Walker. And as I said, you'll get some free product. Now for the good news, if the costs of poor sleep are so enormous, then the benefits of improving sleep must be equally significant. RAND researchers estimated that if people who currently sleep less than 6 hours could increase their sleep to 6 to 7 hours, it would add $226.4 billion to the US economy. Investing in sleep is remarkably cost-effective. Unlike many economic stimuli that require massive infrastructure projects or technological innovations, improving sleep often just requires awareness, cultural shifts, and sensible policies. It's like finding money in your couch cushions. The wealth was there all along. We just weren't looking for it in the right place. Companies are beginning to recognize this economic reality. Some forward-thinking businesses have installed nap pods or quiet rooms, understanding that a 20-minute power nap can boost productivity by 34% and alertness by 54%. These companies aren't doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. They've crunched the numbers and realized that well-rested employees deliver better returns on investment. Sleep improvement programs show impressive ROI. One study of an employer-sponsored sleep program found that for every dollar invested, the company recouped $1.62 in reduced absenteeism and improved productivity. That's a 62% return, better than many stock market investments. Treating insomnia specifically shows similar economic benefits. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, costs approximately $1,000 per patient, but saves about $3,700 in healthcare costs and lost productivity over 3 years, a 270% return on investment. Few medical interventions show such favorable cost-benefit ratios. In healthcare terms, improving sleep is like investing in preventive infrastructure, building strong levees instead of paying for flood damage later. One analysis showed that diagnosing and treating obstructive sleep apnea could save the US healthcare system $100 billion annually. These savings come from preventing downstream complications like heart attacks, strokes, and car accidents. Let's bring this down to the personal level. How does improving your sleep affect your own economic well-being? Studies have found that sleeping 7 to 8 hours per night is associated with 16 to 29% higher earnings compared to sleeping less than 6 hours or more than 9 hours. Over a 40-year career, the wage premium for adequate sleep could translate to hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional earnings. Well-rested individuals also make better financial decisions. Sleep-deprived people tend to take more risks and focus more on potential gains than losses, not ideal traits for long-term financial planning. They're also more susceptible to marketing ploys and impulse purchases, potentially leading to greater consumer debt. Think of sleep as compound interest for your brain. Each good night builds upon the previous one, creating a wealth of cognitive resources that pay dividends in better decision-making, greater creativity, and higher productivity. Conversely, sleep debt is like high-interest credit card debt. It compounds rapidly and becomes increasingly difficult to pay off. The economics of sleep presents a compelling case for rethinking how we value those precious hours of rest. When we sacrifice sleep in the name of productivity, we're actually making a poor economic choice, one that costs us dearly in terms of health, performance, and financial well-being. Sleep isn't just biological downtime, it's a critical economic investment with returns that ripple through every aspect of our lives and society. It's the ultimate economic paradox. By spending more time with our eyes closed, we open the door to greater prosperity when we're awake. So tonight, when you're deciding whether to watch one more episode or head to bed, remember that you're not just making a health choice, you're making an economic one. And the evidence is clear. Investing in sleep might be the highest yield opportunity available to you. And with that, I'll simply say take care. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.